there and welcome to the first in a series of PHP tutorials brought to you by Gamer Software. I'm the leader of the team, Tom, and today I'm going to be teaching you the basics of the web scripting language PHP. The tutorial assumes that you already have Apache, MySQL and PHP installed on your computer and that you have a prior knowledge of HTML and CSS. So if you don't have a prior knowledge, I strongly recommend that you go away and learn those languages before you move on to something as complex as PHP. Likewise, if you don't have Apache, MySQL or PHP installed on your computer, you will need it for this tutorial, so again I do suggest you go away and get those installed before you continue watching the tutorial. So before we begin learning the language itself, there's a bit of background information we need to learn so that we can get a better appreciation of what the language is and what it does. HTML, as you know, is like the building blocks of a web page. It tells the browser exactly how to lay something out. However, HTML only has a static state, meaning that there's no interactivity whatsoever. So that's why we introduced JavaScript, to make things more interactive and dynamic and provide a bit more user-friendliness for the clients. However, JavaScript was a client-side scripting language, meaning that the user could actually view the code and that they could disable it if they wanted to. Now, one man back in 1995 wanted to track visitors who had been to his website. Now, he couldn't do this through JavaScript, so he invented his own language called PHP, which stood for Personal Homepage, and this allowed him to store information securely. And how it worked was that the user would request the web page, the server would process the script, and the server would then send HTML back to the client. So quite simply, the client would never get to see any of the code, so malicious users would not be able to do any harm to any of the website unless there was a security hole. So now we're going to learn a bit of the language itself. So if you haven't already, open up your document editor. I use Dreamweaver, but you can use whatever you want. So first thing we're going to do is just change the page title to Hello World. Now I know this is a bit stereotypical of a tutorial to use a Hello World statement, but it's always a good way to start. So the basic syntax for a PHP page is a less than symbol followed by a question mark, then the letters PHP. That's the opening tag, and the closing tag is a question mark followed by a greater than symbol. Anything inside these tags is rendered as PHP and is processed by the server before sending the page to the client. Anything outside these tags is rendered as plain HTML and is sent straight to the client. Okay, there are also other ways of opening and closing PHP tags which are informal and not used very often. So less than question mark to open and question mark greater than to close is one of these methods. That works, but is just informal and is not used. Another one is the ASP style tags, which is less than percent and percent greater than. And the final method is like the HTML script tags. Script language equals PHP. Okay, and those are the basic syntax for any PHP page. So I'm going to get rid of the informal tags and we'll stick with the formal ones. So now we're going to learn a bit about data types. Now there are different types of data, and if you've done any other programming language, you'll know that you'll have to declare the data type and convert between it whenever you want to change. However, PHP is not like that. You don't have to declare the data type, as it will automatically detect it, and it will automatically convert between the data types provided that you're using the correct format. So the main data types are integers, which are whole numbers, strings, which are groups of characters such as sentences, booleans, which is true or false, and we also have floats, which are decimals. We have arrays, but we will discuss those at a later date. But first, we're going to learn the very basic function in PHP, which is to print text onto a page. Now there's one of two functions we can use. So we could use echo. Now we want to use a string for hello world because it is a sentence. So we're going to put it between two apostrophes. Hello world. Okay? And put a semicolon at the end of the line to tell the script that that is the end of that particular line of code. Now if I save that, go into my web browser and refresh the page, we have hello world printed out there. So if we go back, we could change this to print, which is the other function for printing text onto a page. So if I refresh, I still see hello world. We can also put the string in between double quotation marks. Now, double quotation marks and single quotation marks have a slight difference in the way they work. Single quotation marks will print literally what is put into the string. However, double quotation marks, the string will be processed to check for variables and such. So it can take a bit more processing power to use double quotation marks. So what happens if you want to put apostrophes and speech marks into a string? Well, that's what I'm going to cover now. Okay, so let's get rid of this hello world and let's put inside apostrophes I'm okay, thank you. How are you? If I go onto my browser and refresh, go save, I didn't. Refresh, we get an error. This is because we've used an apostrophe in the middle of the sentence, and it thinks that this apostrophe is the end of the string. So it comes up with an error because it finds all this here. So what we need to do is what's called escaping the character. Simply, we put in a backslash in front of the apostrophe. So now if I save and refresh, we get I'm okay, thank you, how are you? Same will be done with double quotation marks if we wanted to put them inside the string. So, if we were using double quotation marks around our string and then wanted to say, for example, hello, she said. Again, that will come up with an error. So, we'll put backslashes in front like that, and that would make the server process the speech marks as literals and not as the end of the string. Okay, so that is the basics of PHP, and if you tune in next time, I'll be teaching you variables, constants and code commenting.